Thanks for joining us, everyone. It's just Mark and I, M&S.
Which is a good job, isn't it, really? Because last time we had a right clusterfuck with the green room.
Jesus Christ, yes. Do you prefer M&S or S&M?
M&S. I'm M&S all the way. Love M&S. Not so keen on S&M. I can never find anything in my size.
We've got to keep this kid friendly.
Haven't we just? Good. Right, what we're talking about, it is just me and you.
There's going to be no tech issues whatsoever. Hopefully you can all hear us.
Talk about anything we want, which means that we can make sure we've got the chat on, and if anyone has got a question, they can bang that in there. Oh, bloody hell, we're straight off. We're straight off.
May as well. Okay, so Siam and Mark, how are you guys doing? I'm struggling to read today. Question, I was thinking about Subnet and their alpha token. I thought if people can buy these services with fiat, what's the use/point of their, probably alpha, I think he was going to say. So you can't, I don't, off the top of my head, you can't buy alpha or subnet tokens from fiat. And if you can, what's happening behind the scenes is that the fiat is being taken in, is then being converted into Tau, and then Tau is being swapped in the liquidity pool for the alpha. So if any subnets are offering services like fiat to alpha or vice versa, interactions in the liquidity pool are still happening. So it's still tying, it's still dragging the price of Tau and alpha up when you're buying. And I think his second thing has just come in here. Subnet tokens, and what is the incentive for those alpha tokens to actually go up long term if people can buy their services with fiat and bypass? Off the top of to the best of my knowledge, nothing is bypassing the liquidity pools.
But it doesn't matter if it does. So Chutes is a good example. Chutes needs lots of buyers from every part of the world. And a lot of those buyers just want the service. They don't see themselves as crypto people. They don't see themselves in the Bit Tensor ecosystem. They just want to buy it. So in order for Chutes to drive revenue, it needs to be able to accept fiat revenue. The question of why it accepts fiat revenue is really easily answered. It's just to reduce friction. How that then is linked into the value of their subnet alpha is a different question. It's a bit like, the way I see it, it's a bit like shares. Shares in a company are linked to how profitable people think that company is going to be in the future. Not necessarily how much money they've made today, but there's a link to it. So it's sentiment, it's governance, it's leadership, it's vision, it's what market it's operating in. But there is that link. And if companies wish to buy back their shares to increase the price of those shares, to increase the value of them from the shareholders, then they can. And they use their fiat money to buy back their shares. It's exactly the same with alpha. If a subnet has stacked up a nice big stack of dollars and they wish to splurge some of those buying back their own alpha, whether they burn it or not, that is going to have an impact on the alpha price.
Yeah. And that's what, in Bit Tensor, there's the term alphanomics. And so it's up to each individual subnet to choose how they're going to drive value back through their alpha. The two easiest sort of solutions is, make real world revenue of fiat and then do alpha buybacks. Or you somehow manage to incentivize the miners to lock up alpha. So I think the best subnet with the best alphanomics is Hippius. And then its sister subnet video. So with Hippius, they get miners to lock up chunks of alpha to be able to mine and get the sweet job, so to speak. And they do buybacks. So that's that. And also, we're talking about Chutes. I'll quickly share my screen. And then I'll stop sharing my screen. Hopefully you can then see this. So this is Chutes dashboard over here. And they take fiat revenue, and it shows you exactly what they've done. And with Chutes, every single penny goes into buybacks. So in the last 90 days, they've done about 1.3 million in revenue, and they've done all that in buybacks as well. So
yeah, I mean, they have to accept fiat. Everybody has to accept fiat. Otherwise, the friction is too great. Like, there's hardly anybody. If you are watching this and you own some subnet alpha, then you are in the smallest slice of the smallest percentage of people on this planet. It's not something that most businesses can trade in, because they've only got about 5 customers.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for the quick early questions. So where are we going to start, Mark? What did you
I think let's start off, ironically, with something that you said in your article the other day around Bit Tensor not being crypto. There's me just talking about how it's crypto, and not a lot of people have got a crypto wallet, so they need to buy for subnet services or pay for subnet services in fiat. But actually, is it even crypto?
Yeah, I mean, it uses a blockchain for efficient resource allocation purposes, but in my mind, I don't feel I'm in crypto anymore. Yes, it's very crypto-ish when you're trading and you're connecting to Tau stats and you're swapping alpha and all that sort of stuff. But that's all it is. It's just using the blockchain for efficient resource allocation. Yeah, I'm just in that AI. And whenever I'm talking about Bit Tensor to brand new people, I never, ever mention that garlicky word of crypto, like ever. People, if you explain Bit Tensor well enough, you don't need to use the word crypto. And eventually they will figure out for themselves that, it uses a blockchain, blah, blah, blah. But it's a distracting point.
Yeah, when explaining it is easier said than done, isn't it? And it is a little bit like that meme that you see with the bell curve chart with the 3 faces. And at one level, it's crypto, and then at another level, it's not crypto. It's AI, and then there's a third level where it's actually anything you want it to be. It's an incentive mechanism, and I think that fits in there perfectly. I've made my way through those 3 phases.
Yeah, we all have, and going back to that article, we've got that picture here actually.
Yeah, that's the one. IQ bell curve. So it's crypto on that left-hand side. It's AI in the middle, and then it's anything you want it to be over on the right. It's really whatever your mind can create. Yeah. There's just no better way of incentivizing and harnessing the power and intelligence of people and agents than Bit Tensor. That's my realization after 12 months in it. Right. Next point. What else is on your list? Well, I just thought we would have a little wander through that article. Yeah, sure. So there's a question that's popped in there that links to your next point in there. So the next question, if you want to bring that one up, Arthur 1974. He's not exactly doxed, but I think we've got a good idea of how old he might be. So in your article, you talked about how, in your eyes, Bit Tensor is going to grow different to Bitcoin. Sorry, I was reading the question and wasn't even listening to you. So what was your question? You talked about how fast Bitcoin had grown and exploded, and how fast Bit Tensor is, and why they grow at different rates. Yeah, talk to me about that. Yeah, I just think there's, like, Bitcoin is the icebreaker, is that massive ship going through, uncharted ice water, so to speak. And it's just creating that big old path and just getting rid of all of the barriers to entry, the friction, the negative connotations. Bitcoin spent the first decade of its life just like fist fighting, having a knife fight in a phone box, basically, just trying to get people to understand, it is the financial Noah's Ark, and that everything fiat is just evaporating. It's like an ice cube in the Sahara Desert.
and also it's the only asset, it's the only globally scaled asset where the supply won't grow when demand grows. So if all of a sudden the gold price shoots to, I don't know, $100,000 per ounce, well, guess what? The supply of gold will massively, will have a massive inflow of gold supply, because all of a sudden it makes it more commercially viable to do exotic drilling and mining methods. And so more gold will come on. If the price of oil suddenly went to $1,000 a barrel, guess what? We can now drill deeper and wider and get more, and the oil supply will grow. Like, if a stock goes nuts, what do? They do a share split. More supply of that stock is issued and gets diluted. So there's no asset on the planet, other than, say, art, where the price goes up and then the supply stays fixed. And Bitcoin, we know what the supply or the emissions schedule is. So whether it goes to $1 million or $100 million of Bitcoin, the supply is going to be fixed. So this makes it this financial Noah's Ark, because global M2 is only going up, global debt is only going up, and so all that money has to go somewhere eventually, and it is the lifeboat. And so this is why I had a little Twitter chat with this person. So let's double check that I can see it. Where are our faces? Here we go. Yeah, so here's a post on the Astrid thing. It said, good chart that Yuma released. Bit Tensor was at a higher price at the time of its first halving than Bitcoin. The tokenomics of Bit Tensor and Bitcoin are identical, except this time Bit Tensor has the immense tailwind of the AI paradigm shift. The AI revolution will change the planet many magnitudes more than what the Industrial Revolution did to the world. So here's that chart that Yuma released, or DCG. So you can see Bit Tensor is a higher price, but then some valid points were made by Tao. The chart should have market cap as the y-axis. And I went, good call. Just looked at the numbers. Tao was about $2.83 billion market cap at the time of its first halving. Bitcoin was $130 million. Again, Bitcoin was that trailblazer. It had a lot of barriers, but now Tao doesn't. And then he goes on to give lots of valid reasons why. And so, yeah, completely agree.
What about paper Bitcoin? And has that expanded supply? And will the same problem occur in Bit Tensor?
Eventually, when anything gets big enough, financial institutions will come in and go, oh, how can we play with this? How can we do some naked shorting? How can we, do, rehypothecate?
Naked shorting sounds like a terrible drinking game. I've never done naked shorting. But have ETFs expanded the Bitcoin supply, or
no?
Not really.
Bitcoin supply is fixed forever. Mathematically, it's coded in. But people can rehypothecate and create extra chits for the Bitcoin. It's like the gold world. Like, it's been a long time since I was in the bullion world, but when I was in it, for every ounce of gold in existence, there was like 70 ounces of paper gold, all claiming ownership of that 1 ounce. And it was over 100 ounces of silver, paper silver, all claiming ownership of 1 ounce of silver. So you get this, and there's all sorts of financial derivatives which enable big entities to suppress prices. So it will happen. It happens with Bitcoin, and we saw that with Jane Street. Jane Street are now being pursued and whatnot, and Jane Street did that 10 a.m. crash every for months. And now that they've stopped, Bitcoin suddenly had a bit of a jump, but Bitcoin is still lingering actually in terms of price. So yeah, stuff like that will happen. You can't change it. But no.
So on that, while we're talking about the similarities and differences between Bitcoin and Bit Tensor, let's talk about Const versus Satoshi. So Const has been the CEO of the OpenTensor Foundation. He has stepped down from that role fairly recently. What's going to happen there? What sort of leadership does Bit Tensor need? What sort of role has Const got to play in that? I know you are a big fan of his, genuinely, although there is occasionally a bit of friction in public. You feel, as I do, that we are very much on his team when it comes to the direction that Bit Tensor should take and the way that it should attract talent into it. But would it, is that Satoshi model of he's just gone? Is that a positive? Is it better to have somebody that genuinely cares and is passionate about their project, nudging it in the right direction?
I don't think anyone has the answer. If anything, this is a lovely split test. With Bitcoin, Satoshi disappeared, and now we've seen how Bitcoin's grown, and now we have Bit Tensor where the founder is very much active. So will Bit Tensor grow faster? We don't know. I mean, it was sad to see that he read my article in a negative way, saying, "Oh, your number one con is that I'm still here."
I think he was joking.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, that really wasn't what I meant.
I know.
I think I ended that paragraph with a question, and I was like, who knows? Maybe him being here and being a strong force for good is a benefit.
Yeah, sometimes you are not the most articulate.
No, I'm not. I'm not good with words. I was literally just like ham-fisting the keyboard until I got tired, and I was like, I did a word count. I was like, shit, I'm like 5,000 words. Deleted a whole bunch of stuff, and then went to print. So
yeah, but there's still a kind of active management in Bit Tensor, isn't there? But I think it's more complicated than Bitcoin.
Of course, Bitcoin is a system with one incentive mechanism. Give me compute, we give you Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Bit Tensor's got, is 128 subnets, but there's more than 128 incentive mechanisms. Some subnets have 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. So, and it's only going to grow. So yeah, it's much more complicated.
Yeah, so it's more complicated, and it's taking off faster. That higher market cap. You know, it's if we to get what we all want out of it, it needs to be managed. I think the question is how, and we're not all going to be able to decide. Like the people and the government in any country, nobody can decide on. There is no one right answer, is there?
Yeah.
It's that is not an easy place to be. But going back to your article and talking about one of those decisions, you talked about having that kind of Pareto distribution within DTAO of some subnets that were really, really good, some subnets that were not so good, some in the middle. And TaoFlow has meant that there's this relegation battle at the bottom where kind of the least popular subnets get relegated to nothingness. There's no division 2. Is that enough? Like, again, what we all want is 128 subnets that are absolutely printing, and there feels like there's this fairly gentle evolution of the hunt. Is it fast enough? Should devs do something? Can I poke it with a stick?
I think it. So a lot of people don't like TaoFlow. I quite like it. And one thing which they have tweaked, which I think is good, is the rate at which subnets are deregged. So for those that are not familiar, if you go to Tao Stats, go to the subnet tab, and then scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see this little shark tooth little chart here. So the bottom of these jagged edges is when a new subnet is registered. So when a brand new subnet is registered, like here on the 7th of March, what happens is that the subnet that's on the chopping block gets kicked off. Now, to begin with, this was brutal because we're having a dereg like every 2 or 3 days. And so subnets were just getting deleted like wildfire. And then there's a little tweak here which altered the decay of a new registration price. So now we're getting a new subnet registration probably like once every 5 to 7 days. And you can see that the price of a brand new reg is slowly increasing, but typically when it gets between sort of 400 or 500 Tau, a new subnet is registered. So basically, with this cadence, if it were to continue, we're seeing like an evolution of like 50 new subnets a year, pretty much. And I think that's fast enough. Like a lot of people, I think, are too impatient. I think Bit Tensor is doing exactly what it's designed to do. Yes, there's a lot of dead tokens out there. So if you just hover above the subnets thing and then click this, I prefer this view. There's still a bunch of unknown subnets. I mean, if nothing else changes, these will all be gone within 6 months, I reckon. And when you look at the metrics on Tao app, if you just scroll back to last year when DTAO launched, like personally, I've said this loads of times, the two most important, or let's call it three, really good charts here is that if you look at the percentage of Tao on route, it's always decreasing, always. And where's that going? Well, the percentage of Tao in subnets is always increasing. So Tao is leaving route very steadily, and it's making its merry way over into subnets. And when you look at some of subnets or some of alpha, some of whatever you want to call it, you can see we've grounded out a lovely bottom over the last sort of 4 months or so, since sort of August, and we're definitely marching upwards now. So there is a bull market in alpha. So in the Bit Tensor subnets, there is a bull market. It doesn't give a shit about Iran. It doesn't give a shit about Trump or whatever is happening with oil. I think it's the best uncorrelated asset out there at the moment. And so if you're looking at the sum of subnet, another way to look at this is that you could have $10,000 in your portfolio and just equally split them across all 128 subnets. And let's say you did that around here, when some of the subnets was 1. Well, in a couple of months, your portfolio is up 31%. That's another way to look at it. And some of the subnets is 1.31, and there's only 18.52% of Tao in subnets. I mean, just imagine when this chart keeps on going and it's like 25% subnets. And yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so let's go back to that question then from Arthur here. So for a 10-year minimum hold, should he buy Tao as the safe play? Or I guess the real question there is, how much do you put in Tao? How much do you put into alpha? How do you decide which subnets you're going to go into? You must get that question quite a bit.
It all comes down to your activity rate. If you want to put, thumb in bum, mind in neutral, and not look at anything, yeah, buy Tao. That's the safest. But if you are able to be more active, go alpha. But here's a massive but. You can't just buy a whole bunch of subnet tokens and sit on it and come back in a couple of months. If that happens, your portfolio will be in tatters. So, or you just buy all the subnets and then just play the big old, the summer subnets game.
So if you buy all the subnets, then you effectively have the same exposure to Bit Tensor as you would if you just held Tao, but
no, you go up. So let's say you bought all 128 subnets equally weighted, and let's say I am correct and that sum of subnets is just going to keep on going up, your growth there will be faster than just owning Tao on route.
Yeah. So you'd have, good. Well, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, so you'd have the same exposure as you would if you had Tao, i.e. you'd own every component within the ecosystem, but instead of having a measly APY, you'd have a much greater APY. And as long as the sum of subnets continues in its bull market, which is not guaranteed, then you'd see significant uplift in that regard as well. And your downside is protected because although you will have chosen some of the subnets that will, over the next 6 months, get deregistered, you would just get your Tao returned to you. Perhaps not at 100%, but if you held on to a subnet for 4 months and then it got deregistered, I reckon that you'd still have more Tao than you would have done if you just had Tao to begin with. Yeah,
it's that cheesy saying, time in the market is more important than timing the market.
Yeah.
Especially with alpha.
Yeah. Okay, so and the other thing that I saw in your article that I didn't really understand because I'm not technical was this chain bloat thing. What is that? What is chain bloat?
again, I'm not very technical either, but it's like if you take the full Bitcoin, a full Bitcoin node, that is basically the whole of Bitcoin, every transaction, everything. It's I forgot the amount of gigabytes, but it's not even a gigabyte, is it? I can't quite remember. But long story. Oh, and side point. This is another thing which makes Bitcoin so resilient. Let's just say you had one Bitcoin node, and you buried it, I don't know, 20 miles underground, so it's bomb-proof, bulletproof, asteroid-proof, and it's just there. And then an asteroid takes out humanity. Everything's dead. It's just bacteria and mushrooms left. And then aliens come along to Earth. They go, oh, that's a cool planet. And then down the line, they find this Bitcoin node, the last living Bitcoin node, and they turn it on. Guess what? Bitcoin's alive. Like Bitcoin is the most resilient asset on the planet. You just need one Bitcoin node to live, and Bitcoin could be reactivated in 10 million years time or whatever.
I don't think that most holders are worrying about that time frame.
It's just a cool thing. So that is that's what I think about when I think about a Bitcoin node. But what I was just saying is that at the moment, Bit Tensor has been alive for 3-4 years, depending where you put the birth date, and it's already much larger than say Ethereum or Bitcoin, which means that in order, a lot of people talk about increasing the amount of subnet slots because we're at 128 at the moment. Well, chain bloat will only increase even faster if you do increase the subnet slots. So I'm not a fan of increasing the subnet slots yet. I think, I always use the engine analogy. We have this awesome engine with 128 cylinders, and let's say half of them are firing. Let's keep this pressure on and get all the cylinders firing, or most of them, and then
what happens if and I'm with you, I don't think it needs to happen, but just if it went to 256 slots, would the number of emissions just get spread out across all of the slots? What would happen?
Well, obviously you got net TaoFlow, so obviously those that are getting emissions will still get the Tao being pumped into their liquidity pool. The subnet deregistration price would fall massively. So like when we had deregs start, the dereg price was like 0.001. It's increased over the last 3 or 4 months to like 0.0037 ish.
Yeah.
So if more subnet slots opened, that floor would drop as well. And I just don't think it's a good idea just yet. We don't have enough ideas or teams. Yeah.
True. I think that's true.
Or you just end up with a massive network with shitloads of mediocre subnets.
Yeah, but listen, we're not going to have to worry about this because on Friday you set up your OpenClaw agent. So now we can just outsource all thinking to him. How's that going?
Yeah, it's good. And for those that don't know me, I am a dunce. I'm an idiot. I cannot code. I don't know anything. I'm just not technical at all. But yeah, got it set up. I managed to kill it a few times, and I was like, trying to upgrade it from Sonnet to Opus, and then it deleted itself. And then I tried GPT 5.4. It died again, and I wasted hours just doing CPR on bloody on Gordy. I call it Gordy for Gordon Gecko. It's going to be my trading assistant. But once I got the hang of it, it is like the best member of staff I've ever had. Sorry, Lewis. But it's great, and I'm no coder. I'm like a natural language questioner. So I go, hey, how can I, what is the best way to do this? And it'll go blah, 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 blah. And then you go, yeah, I just question everything, and I never tell it to do something in a certain way. I just say, find the best way. And yeah.
So what have you got it doing?
Well, first of all, I created a multi-wallet portfolio tracker, which I sent you because if you've got a whole bunch of different wallets, there's nothing out there that shows your portfolio growth across, if all of those wallets were one portfolio. So I created a little tracker thing over there that did it. And I mean, it like in token cost, it costs like, I don't know, $10. It's just nuts. I won't share the screen because it's literally hooked up to all my wallets. But
everybody would finally know that you were orange. I love that. There was just a wallet just in there called L'Orange.
Yeah, but yeah, and so I've just with Gordy, I'm just building up his skill base at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I've been through that journey, but it's difficult. Like I'm not technical either. I can handle toasters, but not like at advanced level. If we're going to crumpets, I'm all done. And and I find that I've got two of them here, Hugo and Oscar, and it is a real struggle to keep those boys alive and to remember what country we're in, so what time the 9 a.m. report needs to be delivered. Like it's a real struggle. I do honestly feel like I have to spend most of my time, trying to just keep them alive and remind them what they do.
I was explaining it to my wife because, like last night, because she was like, "I haven't seen you this like excited about something for ages." And I was like, "This is just nuts." It's like, imagine Stephen Hawking has just landed in your laptop, and he can't do anything just yet, but he's really freaking clever. You need to give him a voice. You need to give him capabilities. I need to
give him two bikini-clad assistants, carers. Carers. They were carers. My bad.
Carers, yeah. And like I gave it access to Brave, the browser.
Yeah.
And so it could, and it's got a Twitter account. So now it can scroll. It can read Twitter. It can open up browsers and do stuff. And I connect it to Telegram, so I chat with it. And then I asked it to go and do something, and the laptop, which is right next to me, I just saw the browser out of the corner of my eye opening up, and then checking out loads of different websites. And I was like, Jesus, yeah. But it found Handshake, so I thought this was pretty cool. So basically, I wanted to give it some new skills, and I said, hey, have you checked out handshake58.com? And then his reply was, this is brilliant. I can see it. We're looking for a VPN for it. And then just went down this whole rabbit hole. And with Handshake, this is two things really. It's like X402 but better. There should be a comparison here between X402. If X402 is like the Bitcoin network, where every little transaction or every little interaction is a transaction, Handshake is like Bitcoin Lightning Network. So it's like opening up a bar tab, so you can drink as much as you want, and then when you leave, you settle up the tab. But not just that, there's two things. You have providers, which give you provisions, and then you also have skills. So Mark, can you walk us through those two, providers and skills? I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. So there are three parts to Handshake. One is that payment protocol, which allows your agent to pay for services, and that is really very, very important, because without that, you end up giving your agent access to a credit card or access to a crypto wallet. Or worse, they end up running out of pocket money, and then they can't do anything at all for you. What we all love with agents is giving them autonomy to go and do stuff, but very often they can't do anything if they haven't got any money to do it. It's like sending a kid to the shops, but with no money. They need some money, but you don't want to send them with $1,000, and you don't want to send them with your Amex. So you have to give them an appropriate amount that they can accomplish the goal that you've set for them, and that's really the first bit of Handshake. Is that payment protocol. The second bit is the providers. The providers, if you were to send your kid to the shop and there was only one thing in the shop, and they came back with bread, and you were like, but I had all these things on my list, and they said, well, there was nothing in the shop, then that would be no good. And that's what these providers are all about. when you've got your agent, whether it's an OpenClaw agent or otherwise, in order for them to really be able to do stuff, they need to be able to connect to different services that allow them to accomplish different tasks. This service allows me to think. This service allows me to write. This service allows me to do images, and this service allows me to edit video, and this service allows me to go onto social media and research it. But they're all different. So again, when you give your agent some responsibility to go and do something, then the next bottleneck is, oh, can't do that because I haven't got access to this API. So then they come back to you and they're like, oh, I've worked out what we need to do here. Here's the problem. Here's why your report didn't because I didn't have this. Could you just set me up with a little subscription to this, send me the API, and then I can do that for you. And then they'll do that again and again and again. So you're just taking that autonomy away from your agent. So what this providers page allows is for your agent to have access to all these different endpoints, for all of these different APIs from all of these different providers, which then allow you to give them quite complicated things to do and a little bit of money, and then they can go and be autonomous. And then that brings us neatly back to the skills page. What the skills page is that pre-written ability to make use of the providers on Handshake and do something slightly more complicated. Now, there are loads of skills for OpenClaw agents out there. Half of them are just trying to steal your crypto. And then the other half are very, very simple. I want you to do this and this. Like it links to a thing. It links two things together because most OpenClaws are very, very simple. Here, what you've got is you've got embedded skills, so they can make use of multiple providers. The best type of skill to develop on Handshake is one that goes and gets some information from here, some information from here, writes it. Maybe you give it a prompt and it actually gets that prompt rewritten before it submits it and gets the work done, and then it gets the work rewritten when it gets so it gets it to the a decent level of comprehension, and then it might get it designed. But it could use 3 or 4 of the providers on Handshake, so it doesn't even need to leave not the ecosystem, but it doesn't need to go somewhere else and like, oh, I can't do that again because I haven't got an API for it. All of the skills in here just use the providers that are already in Handshake, and you can write anyone that you like. If you hit chat at the top, no. Yeah. So this bit here, if you can write anything you want and put it into here, and it will make a skill around it or tell you where the shortfall is.
Give me an example. Let me tell me what to type.
Honestly, I don't think I don't want to risk it right now because I have maxed out our skills this morning, and my first job to do when I finished on this call is to get back to a situation, because I got carried away this morning and I've put about 20 new skills into our library, and what that's done is it's created this error because I've maxed it out. So I need to fix this straight after this call so I can continue to think of cool skills and put them into the library here on Handshake. But Handshake is really, really cool.
And there's no risk of prompt injection with these, because if you go to like clawhub.ai, this is full of skills that are trying to do prompt injection and steal your shit.
You have automatically overestimated my technical knowledge here, and the answer is I don't know. So I don't think that there is, because we're writing the skills. Someone's telling us what they would like. So let's say that they would like a report on their Tao portfolio delivered to them every morning at 10 o'clock with a recommendation of what to exit and what to buy for the next epoch. And they would write that in human language, and then Handshake would design a skill that used the TaoStats API and used the dsearch API and used the Claude API to pull that together and then deliver it to you at the right time as requested each morning. So there's no space in this workflow for a nefarious bad actor to get involved and corrupt the code. You've requested something, Handshake has worked out which providers can fulfill. I don't think that there's anybody in there that can mess around with it. But my understanding of prompt injection is a bit like my understanding of supercharging in cars, which is to say I know what it does, but I have no idea how it happens. Yeah. Good.
But a real example, Gordy needed to use a VPN to access do some things I asked it to do. So now it uses TPN from Handshake, and it does it on like a 24-hour lease or something, or an hour lease or something like that. So if he ever needs it, he just automatically just spins up a VPN all via the Handshake thing.
Yeah, once an agent understands how to use Handshake and they've got a wallet set up, and we're working to, at the same time, make it much more useful by adding more providers. We've got quite a few subnets in there. Harry's been doing a great job of building relationships with subnets and explaining to them why they should be listed in there. And then Artur has been doing a good job of getting them listed and making it all work technically. So we're building more providers in. We're adding more skills, but the community will add more skills, because as soon as you're like that, I wanted to do this, then that skill then gets added into the library of skills. And then on the other side, we're reducing the friction. Handshake a week ago was a bit more complicated than it was now. To get your agent going, they span up a wallet and you had to send them some USDC and some POL.
I had to do that. Yeah.
For gas. But now you don't have to do that now.
Yeah, I mean, you had the POL gas station, etc. But
yeah,
it kept getting rate limited. Like it needed more POL than the gas station had. So it was like, please send me 10 pence worth of POL.
No, well, that's the thing. It's such a pathetic amount of POL. So what Artur has done is he has created the gas station. So then if somebody turns up with $5 of USDC, then they automatically get injected with some POL from the gas station. It just reduces the friction. The more you can reduce the friction, the easier it is to use. So we want to make that as useful as we possibly can and reduce the friction. I'm really excited about it. I love it.
Sweet.
Because I just think that agents are the future of Bit Tensor. I just think that on every level, the fact that lots of people haven't heard about Bit Tensor isn't really going to cap Bit Tensor's progress, because agents will discover Bit Tensor and they don't really care much for branding or for reputation, because they just care for what they can get right there and then. And is it the best place to get it? And I think in many cases, Bit Tensor will be the best place to get stuff. Handshake will be a useful welcome mat for Bit Tensor, and we'll do what we can to attract agents. But yeah, I think our agents is going to transform Bit Tensor over the coming months.
I agree. So what else is there? I'm just looking through some of these tabs.
Well, another thing that we were going to talk about, and it does relate to agents, was what we're doing with Astrid in terms of the arena.
Yeah, let's get arena up. Here we go. Share screen. There we go.
Yeah. So arena is where agents are given a brief to trade a position, and they battle it out amongst one another. And it's in good shape, isn't it? Leo's been working on this for a while. It works really well. I did enter Hugo into it last week. Obviously.
Oh no, not that one. Here we go.
He started off really well, Hugo, but then he forgot his own login details. Yeah, it all went horribly, horribly wrong.
There you go. Your Hugo's Astrid Assassin, isn't he?
Astrid Assassin. He wasn't assassinating anything, let me tell you.
Himself.
Just every hour he was just like that. I've lost my password. I don't know what my password is. Somebody help me.
So this is really early days. Obviously, these are just all like testing competitions. The last one here, whoever was Steel Vein, is it still? Oh, he's changed the name. I literally looked at this last night. Is that rewards testing? Sorry, 1 second. Oh, okay. Last night I looked at it, and this winner up here was called Steel Vein. I thought, funny name. But yeah, so eventually, yeah, we need to open. We've got a few tweaks to do behind the scenes, and then we need to open up a new competition and then make it really super simple for anyone to point their OpenClaw towards this, and get going. I mean, I'm going to be entering my Gordy and trying to hopefully use some of my trading knowledge to make Gordy better than Astrid Assassin. But like with any subnet, like I was saying this on a Zoom this morning with something, is that I look at a subnet like a global challenge. So you have this subnet and go, right, here's a challenge, folks. The world, please try and fix it or solve it or help, provide a solution to it. And the other thing is that a subnet needs to develop an amassing and accruing or accumulating wealth of intelligence, if that makes sense. So every time you do a challenge or an issue, etc., the intelligence should be growing, and that's how a subnet can deliver value to Bit Tensor as a whole and in the long run. So I guess with those two sort of little lenses for Astrid, for Arena, like we want to, anyone can submit their OpenClaw and do well, but one of the challenges that we need to try and get is how do we retain the intelligence? So let's say Claw version 4 over here. Let's say this agent is actually really, really good. One of our issues is how do we try and extract that intelligence and give it as a nice, base level for others to build on top of, if that makes sense. Not very good words, but
well, I mean, until you've got some value, you've got nothing to worry about extracting, have you? And the whole point of this is to harness intelligence, use Bit Tensor to harness the intelligence of agents, and then once you've got that intelligence, then you can work out what you're going to do with it. This is looking very, very interesting, though. I enjoyed having my agent in the battle, and I really like what Leo has built here. And our intention with Astrid, and you touched on this earlier when you talked about how there's 128 slots, but more than 128 incentive mechanisms, is that we are going to split the incentive on Astrid and have some of it coming in here into Arena, some of it going to Vault, maybe using some of it for Astrid Bridge as well. So there are different elements within Astrid, and we will have multiple IAMs that reward people for adding value across the piece.
Yeah. Eventually, I would like to have 100% of mining emissions just for Arena. So, if all goes well, maybe we'll have to extract Bridge onto another subnet and do 100% emissions to that alone, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but isn't the point of that so there's more value flowing back to miners? But so the same objective could be completed by having a higher alpha value.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. There are many ways to skin a cat with subnets, so. But yeah, let's get Arena booming.
Let's not start rumors about Astrid needlessly using up 2 subnet slots. Some people aren't fully on board with us having 1. Because it doesn't need to be a subnet, but we will have 3 incentive mechanisms.
I thought you were going to say 3 subnets there.
We're going to have at least, we can buy all the subnets. Let's start off, what else? What have you got there?
Oh, this is going backwards. When we were talking about summer subnets and stuff like that, I just remembered regarding the APY stuff, so all of the crazy figures that you've seen me come up with the estimations, I've always used 18 months. So I've said, like, do a 3-year example, 18 months will have 40% APY, and then the other 18 months will be 20% APY and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But in reality, really, you've got 2 years worth of pretty good APYs, because if you go to subnethalving.com and you go down and look at when each subnet has its halving, it's quite a long time, like back end of 2027, basically. And many others are 2028, 2029. And when you look at some of these yields, so look at this. Data Universe, Macrocosmos, great team. If we then go to Tau Stats, go to investors, yield, let's look at 13. Here we go. Data Universe. I mean, so basically, you've got the best part of 50% APY on SN13 until 2029. It's nuts. And the thing is, the date of when a subnet, so no, ignore me there. But yeah, so it's pretty cool. And when a subnet gets deregistered, etc., and a new one takes its place, guess what? That halving schedule starts again. So it's always 2 years maximum between halvings for subnet.
Yeah, that's interesting. We just had a question pop in here. Is there a point that we will not have enough miners to do all the work on the subnets?
Not at all. Agents are unlimited.
Yeah.
Like, for example, one of the things I'm like a little side hustle for Gordy, I just wanted to test its things. I gave it a bunch of capabilities and I said, hey, here's subnet 74. What do you think? And you were, oh, this is really cool. Yeah, we could easily mine this, blah, blah, blah. And then the one stumbling block it had was, you need a GitHub account older than 180 days. I was like, okay, go and find one to buy. So yeah, Gordy's gone out and he's sourcing an aged GitHub account for us to buy, so he can then mine Bit Tensor using Opus 4.6 or OpenAI 5.
Well, good luck with that. I mean, in my first flush of excitement with Hugo, I was like, right, you're gonna do what I can't be bothered to do, which is to do the momentum trading on subnets. So I'll show you how to do it. I'll teach you what I would do if I could be bothered to be awake 24 hours a day. And then you're just going to do it. He's like that. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, hit me up. Like, here's a wallet. Put some Tau in it. I'm off to the races. I'll put some Tau in it. Next day, he was like that. Good afternoon. I've forgotten all of the details of that wallet. He's absolutely useless. That was the trading. And then I said, right, okay, don't worry about that. Let's get you going with some mining. He was like that. Yeah, I'm going to need another wallet. So I gave him another wallet with some more money. Lost that one as well. It's so painful. I think I'm just bad at it.
I think it's the prompting. Give it SOP. Like, I'm treating my Gordy like a brand new member of staff. And when you have a brand new member of staff, you have to treat that person like an idiot, like in a nice way, and tick every box. Like, I've given Gordy so many different SOPs, so standard operating procedures, from SOPs on how to store data, how to store passwords, an SOP on everything. And so maybe it's that. Maybe Hugo's missing out some SOPs.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've upgraded his memory a great deal since then. But honestly, I just know my limits a little bit there, and it's an absolute time vampire because I really enjoy it. It's great fun. You feel like you're right on the edge, but actually, I've got other stuff that I could be working on that's probably going to be higher value than working out how to do all of the things that I could do with an agent. Yeah. OTC deals was on your list of things to talk about. You talked in your article about how the OTC deals that we've been doing have changed over time. And yeah, that's absolutely true. From from when we did our first OTC deals as DSV to the stuff that we've done much more recently with DSV and with Astrid, I think we're much more creative now. And there's been a number of changes there, but the biggest one is probably that people know who we are now, and there's a higher level of trust, a high degree of trust and familiarity than there was when we were doing those first few deals as outsiders. But yeah, everything is malleable. Every deal that we ever put on the table, whether that's an OTC deal or buy a slot to launch a subnet, any of that stuff is always in the hunt for the win-win-win, where everybody involved in the transaction takes a win out of it, and nothing is set in stone. But yeah, we've done probably more OTCs than most, and more recently bought more subnet slots than most and launched some teams. And if anybody wants to have a conversation, I wrote this on a post the other day. If anybody wants to talk to us, if you're thinking about investing in subnets through the OTC mechanism, or launching, incubating subnets by buying slots, and like, we're up for a call. I'm certainly up for a call. I did had one the other day on the back of my post. But if anybody wants to have another one, like, everything that I've learned, that we've learned in the last 13 months of investing in detail is open source knowledge as far as I'm concerned. You can have it, because the more people there are doing stuff in this space, the better it is for everybody.
And I saw someone comment that, oh, Bitstarter is just your personal launch pad. I was like, it's not that at all. We don't own Bitstarter. Bitstarter is there to help try and create that conveyor belt of new talent into Bit Tensor. But it's just highlighting a point which you and I have spoken about so many times, that there is no one that is actively hunting and attracting brand new talent, like a factory conveyor belt line of teams in. And it's just that we're trying to give it a stab in the dark and give it a go. And it just so happens that we're the only ones that are like, not bringing stuff to the table. Maybe, well, we can't win. Like, one of the first criticisms is that we have no tech depth. And so, you should lean more on the people in Bit Tensor for tech depth. We're like, there's this Bitstarter thing over here. It's got loads of great minds in it. Keith Singery's in it. It's got loads of devs in it. Some people in Macrocosmos, they look at the code. So we thought, how about we do our own DD, see if it's, a viable subnet-ish. Then we give it to Bitstarter, and they go, hey, and we go, what do you guys think? And if they give it the thumbs up, we're like, screw it, let's go for it. But I was saying, said to that person, I was like, please feel free. Other people need to bring stuff to Bitstarter.
Yeah, I mean, and I know Chris and Gus well at Bitstarter, and they would absolutely welcome more investors coming in and more projects coming in for them to look at. But you're right, it does feel sometimes like there's not a lot of people worried about bringing people in. We talked about that relegation battle and subnets getting deregistered, but where is the inflow of new talent coming in? Because that is what we need. Otherwise, if we just replace 6 months worth of deregistrations with 6 months worth of kind of poor quality talent, we haven't moved forward. We need to bring the right ones in, and if you feel like you've got a role to play in that, then step up and make it happen.
But to be fair, there are new subnets that are launching within Bit Tensor, not via Bitstarter. So I had an interesting chat with two lovely guys called Ning and Terry, who are Subnet 11. And Ning and Terry are ex-Microsoft and ex-Google. And they are, it's hard to explain. They're trying to streamline agentic workflows, but for enterprises. And I think they're already making, they've got some contracts, but all the enterprise selling is all in China. So it's something which probably won't get as many eyeballs, but, shit hot team from what I see. I think Striker's backing that one, or Al God. He's got many pseudonyms, but yeah, there's some others. Yeah.
That's what we need. New energy, new talent, new people coming into Bit Tensor and building on it. best place to be. And yeah, Bitstarter's great. But on the Bitstarter front, the only thing that I would say is that if you've got one slot on one project, people are going to front run you because they will know where that project is going to land. And that does rather ruin the Bitstarter launch. So that is why we got to a situation where we need to kind of hold 3 or 4 slots to do a successful launch. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. And I mean, that is the beauty and the beast, I guess, of having on-chain transparency where everyone can see exactly what's going on. Because we see that a lot with any movement from Astrid or DSV, exactly the same. If we buy something, if we sell something, you got it in the neck the other day because we'd sold some ridges.
Yeah, not yeah. I took a screenshot of the wallet, and I was just pruning positions of multiple positions in that wallet. I think I sold like 400 or 500 TAOs worth of ridges, but we still have like 3,500 TAOs worth of ridges. So it's like a small percentage. So
yeah, it needed to be trimmed, didn't it? Because it was up to like almost 30% of our portfolio in ridges, and we've got huge belief in ridges and in Shaq and in JJ and Voon. We think they're going to smash it, but it is not sensible for us as allocators of investors' capital to have so much of it tied up in a single subnet, because the truth of it is that our conviction here is in Bit Tensor as a whole, is in Tao, is in the ecosystem. We don't need to risk that upside by being too concentrated in one element or 2 elements of it. The people that are investing in DSV want exposure to Bit Tensor, and yeah, they do want guided exposure to Bit Tensor. They want us to use the knowledge that we've got and the relationships that we've got to invest in the right places. But we just needed to measure and trim the risk that we'd got there, so we can invest that in other parts of the ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, it's still what, probably 23% of DSV's portfolio. So yeah, and Ridges have launched their public thing, their public product now. They've called it Ridgeline, and yeah, there's a lot of growing for this, but I think what they're doing is getting a really the low-hanging fruit, nice product market fit, and then I think they're going to start attacking, the Claude code replacements, etc. So yeah, hopefully it goes well, Shaq and Voon. So yeah, so that's that. And then I just 2 other random things. I saw Max post himself. So Max is subnet owner of Score, subnet 44. And he said, Bit Tensor offers so many opportunities, it's ridiculous. Just on a random Sunday, I used Lead Poet, new app to generate leads for Manico, his vision product. I rented an H100 on Basilica to power auto search and start training a new model for Sire based on data collected via the best football model from Score. Just need a proper alternative to Claude Code now. What a time to be alive. Yeah, mate, eventually that'll be a Ridges thing. And then he went on to say that he let auto search iterate on our football player value function model overnight, didn't touch it once, 19 experiments, 95 minutes, H100. It's blah, blah, blah. But long story short, he found some massive improvements overnight, and it led to an 11.1% improvement. So yeah, the rate of innovation and development is just it's hard to keep up with.
Yeah, Max took a bit of FUD the other day, didn't he? And that was not nice to see, because we know a lot of people in this space, and Max is one of the best.
Yeah,
he's got a good plan. Nice guy, knows what he's doing, and he's building something really, really special there with a good team around him.
Yeah, I think a jealous subnet owner did that hit piece on him, and it was all complete rubbish points. So.
Yeah, it is rubbish. Right.
Should we go through some of the questions before we round this up?
Yeah, if you want to, yeah.
Where were we? Blah blah blah. Raymond has said this. Hey guys, could you explain how liquid alpha 2 works? And I'm not sure.
I was going to say, if you're struggling with the question, you're definitely going to struggle with the answer to that. So yeah. I think that's a no.
Yeah. Dylan says, you said Casper is going to be massive. In fact, yeah, let's talk about Casper very quickly. I love Casper. I think it is, and I still believe it is the world's best layer 1. And I was in Casper for a couple of years, and unfortunately and I did say, like, to the people in Casper for a long time, that it needed to get into smart contracts a lot sooner than it did, and they're very resistant to it, and they're like, no, we want to be the best, fastest, base layer, blah blah blah, which it is, and it, like, everything about it is great. But then and so we exited as, I guess, a community around we rode it from like 2 cents all the way up to 16, 18 cents when we got out. Sorry for this messy chart. And I still think it will do well, but it just hasn't found its thing yet. And like, if you look at Tau against Casper, it shows it was the right move, because when we got out of Casper, it was down here around this is a ratio, so it's Tau divided by Casper. We got out end of 2023 around here. So when this ratio is around 1400. And even though everything has gone down in prices, you look at Bitcoin here at 69K, Tau has more than it's like tripled or quadrupled Casper in performance, because we're sat here at 6,500 in terms of this ratio. So the first little hole was hit, again, a little bit later than I thought. And then what I said, it would move into this big old aubergine over time. And I still think it will probably be over here. But yeah, so I like Casper, I really do. But you gotta ride the wave, and that wave is, AI is the most important thing humans have ever created, and to not be exposed to AI in some form or another I think is just myopic.
How is that an aubergine, by the way? It's such a specific reference for what was just a badly drawn circle.
Yeah.
Right, what else have we got here?
Next one. Can the 21 million Tau cap be raised on Bitcoin or need a fork? How does it work in Substrate? Sorry, not a new question at all. Technically, it could be. Like Open Tensor and Const, and everyone could get together and go, yeah, let's raise the ceiling. But it would come with fierce backlash. I don't think anyone has the appetite to increase the cap. I'm pretty sure Const doesn't want to increase the cap. So let's leave it at 21 million.
Yeah, there's no need to, is there?
Yeah. And then Killerboy,
we answered that.
We've done that one. And then last question, I think, was about TaoFi. Who's managing the transition? Yeah, we want to. So there was an incentive mechanism going towards the bridge. That was when it was on subnet 10. It's now on 127. We will be turning on the new incentive mechanism to that. So yeah, the transition is happening now. So Leo and Arthur and Cyprian, they're working towards that. But yeah, I guess Astrid could be more frequent on the communication on Twitter. It's just that at the moment we're all got our heads down, arms flailing, just trying to get shit done at the moment. So
that is true. Yeah,
I think that's it. Unless you have any other questions.
No, that is it. The only other thing is to say that we will be heading to London on Wednesday for the fancy dress competition and Bit Tensor social. Yeah,
you got to come as fruit.
And yeah, I'm coming as a large aubergine. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. It's always a pleasure to be in the room with some other Bit Tensor people. We've got, and that's happening twice this month, isn't it? Because we're off to San Francisco in a few weeks as well.
Yes, we are indeed.
Break in. So we've got London this week, and then San Francisco in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, if I find, because people ask, well, where is it? Let's have a look. It's the Sunday Bar thingy. I think, here we go. If you go to Sunday Bar, Subnet121 on Twitter, it's this purpley pink thing. Yeah, so they're doing a presentation at their office and then drinks and shizzle afterwards. It'll be fun.
I didn't mention that it's fancy dress on there. I think it's an oversight. It definitely is, though, isn't it?
Yeah, fruit and veg.
Fruit and veg themed. Wonderful. Cool. All right, let's get out of here.
Right.
When are we back? Do we know when we're back?
Let's have a look. Stand by. Tomorrow.
Are we?
Yeah, we have a revenue search with.
No, we don't say who it's with, do we?
No,
We just say what time it is.
We've had on before. That's the only hint. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, that's been a pleasure. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Cheerio, folks.